Hey everyone, it's Ernie Svensson, and I'm going to be sharing um, some information about how to create a great presentation. So let me switch over here to my screen where you can see me talking. Here I am. And so what I'm going to do is kind of walk through the thought process, the development of a presentation that I'm going to be giving to a group of lawyers in in Portland. And just so you know who I am, here is let me switch over. You can see my slide a little bit about me. I get invited to speak to groups of lawyers around the country, and the Portland Trial Lawyers Association asked me to come out and speak. So I'll be doing that in a couple of weeks, and they want me to talk about my basically signature presentation, which I call Law Firm Autopilot, which is kind of the overall framework and uh, way of grasping how to build a practice that is efficient, smooth running, and so forth by using technology. And the trick is to use the right technology. The trick is to use technology sensibly, all that kind of stuff. So that's the background to my talk. And I thought I would just walk you through how do I create a presentation, and hopefully this will help you, think through whenever you have to give a presentation to an audience, whether it's a webinar, because what I'm going to show you will work for a webinar, or for a live event. So let me switch over to, let me just show you. So here's the first, that's the slide, the title slide I created for this. Now this is the slide I'm going to use when I give this presentation to open up with. So this is what we'll be showing when I'm getting ready to walk up. So the typical routine is you're invited up to the stage, but before you're invited up, you have to set everything up. And so there's some slide that's just sitting there that people are going to look at. So I have this slide here because this is the branding for my Law Firm Autopilot website and so forth. And so my designer created some slides that I can use to build the slides I need to use. They're all matching the color and the branding of the Law Firm Autopilot website and so forth. So this is the slide that will be displayed. And this is basically what my talk is about. Now, the talk is called Law Firm Autopilot. It's got some other stuff, but I don't constrain myself with what the talk is labeled in the program. I think about, well, what are people going to need to know when they're sitting there? And it needs to be big and simple. It can't have a bunch of words because that's, no in PowerPoint. So, Law Firm Autopilot, I have my branding logo up there that takes care of the title of the slide, the title of the talk. And then what I'm really going to be teaching people is how to create a better law practice, but I'm going to leave out the word law because there's no need to put that in there. And then the key is by leveraging technology. So that I have in a different color because that's kind of drawing attention to the fact that that's how this is going to work. Then as the person is introducing me, I'll flip the slide over to this, and then either they can read off of this or riff off of this, or if they say something else, this gives the audience kind of an idea of my background. I'm a speaker. I've spoken at these various places. I'm an author. I've written a bunch of books. I've gotten awards for helping small firm lawyers. So this is good stuff to have up while they're introducing me. Then when I want to give the talk, I'm going to go right back to this slide. But now I've added the words sensibly, strategically, and effectively, which I'm not displaying these slides the way, but this kind of bounces in with a build that's kind of attention getting. So when I flip to that, they're going to have already seen this other stuff, but now they're going to get this little indication that what I'm going to be talking about is that you have to leverage technology in the right way, namely, sensibly and strategically. And then now you get to the part where this is where people who don't give presentations, they just get up there and they, riff off of information that they have and it's disjointed. I subscribe to the Stephen Covey edict that, you must begin with the end in mind. So I have to think, well, at the end of this presentation, I know people are going to be excited. They're going to have learned things and they're going to say, that's great. Well, one thing they're going to want is my slides. This is inevitable. A lot of people want the slides, and that'll be the first question, like, where can I get the slides? So why don't I just deal with this right up front? And so the way I deal with that is I have, and I'll just skip down here, is that I'll say, after I say, thank you, I look forward to helping you in the future. And then I'll have a slide that goes, what about the slides? Because I know this is what they're thinking about. And then I'll say, well, great, well, you didn't get the slides. You just have to go here, and it's lawfirmautopilot.com/. And I'm going to change this because I have to make this specific to this new updated slide deck that I'm doing for Portland. So I just need to create a page on my website and then give it a title, like, Portland. So it's easy for people to remember in Portland, lawfirmautopilot.com/Portland. And then after I show that, I'll say, thank you. Like, this talk is over. But I also know that after they applaud and say thank you, they're going to want the slides. Some people are going to say, wait, what was the slides? And they're going to be asking their neighbors. So then I'll transition right over to this just by hitting the next button. I could go back, but I just put it here to remind myself that that's the progression. So that's where they're going to end up. And I also know that where they're going to end up is they're going to want my help. And so, when they get the slides, I'm thinking through how on that page that they go to, there will be some other resources that I'll make available to them. And then, they can get my emails, and, I can continue to help them if they want my help. So now how do I create the presentation? Well, we already talked about this. So step one in trying to think about, beginning with the end in mind is the first question, obviously, is, well, how are you going to improve? Okay. So I've got the slides grouped, and I'm still working on these. So these are not the final slides. I just want to show you the thought process, and I'm, pretty much through with the main part, so I can talk about it with you guys. So then how do you improve? Okay. Well, the first question is, do you really want to improve? Okay. Because I've helped a lot of lawyers, and say, well, of course, I'd love to improve my practice, but oh, wait, you mean I have to do something different than I did before? Well, okay, I don't want to do that. So my first question is, how open are you? And then it's not how open are you to changing, because if I say that, people are going to go, well, I don't know, let me think about it. I have to give them the concrete results. How open are you to, being able to escape from the office and take long vacations and enjoy hanging out at the beach? How open are you to the idea of having a simpler practice that's easy to run, where parts of it, you don't even have to tell people what to do? How open are you to working with smart, capable people that you can find via outsourcing and hire those people on a part-time basis? So, people are going to tend to answer those questions yes. And if they say, well, yes, they are open to that, that's what they want. I'm not talking about change. I'm talking about the result of change, because I've learned from human psychology, you have to show people what's going to happen if they change, and not just say, are you going to change? So, and I say, well, the key is to start working smarter. So those are those slides. And then the question is, and I'm going to close these out, is, what does working smarter mean? So now I got to break it down. I got to organize the information. I could give them a bunch of random disparate stuff, and then they wouldn't like it. It'd get bored, and they wouldn't pay attention. They wouldn't take action, and that would be bad for everybody. So I have to break it down, and it's taken me a long time. And this is what I've modified. I recently modified this even more to capture, again, the things that I think, these are the three big things I think people need to do. So automation is pure technology. And what I'm going to talk about in mobility is also pure technology. But instead of saying technology, because nobody wants technology, what they want is simplicity. And they want to be able to practice law from anywhere, and they want to be able to make more money. And, automation is the way to do a lot of stuff. So people don't necessarily want automation, but I've sandwiched that between two things that they do want. And then I go through and I explain, what does that mean? Simplicity. So what is simplicity? Well, simplicity is having systems. I'll talk about the books that people can read about that. Simplicity is streamlining your practice so that it's more efficient, which means getting away from using paper and being paperless. It means using cloud-based tools, because that's going to set you up to be mobile. And of course, if you can access your now paperless information from anywhere, that'll let you get more done more easily. And, streamlining and automating digital information is easier than streamlining and automating paper. So finally, we talk about templates, and I give them some examples of, if you set up the templates right, and the one on the right is better, it's cleaner. And I learned how to do this from the book Typography for Lawyers. You can get the book and learn about it in that book. And so that's, the basic keys of simplicity. Then in automation, I'll talk about automating by macros. I have a little video here that's about, 3 minutes that I can either plug in and let my narration take over, so that I can now stop talking and take a drink of water. Or if they don't have the sound, or the sound doesn't work, I can just run the video, and then and I can even show you what this looks like. I can run the video, and so let's say let me click on the movie. So if I run the movie and I say start the movie, Now,
It's
Text
the
Expander is a
movie
text automation tool that works with Macs and
is gonna
PCs,
run. You're gonna hear me
and it will
talk in the
radically improve
background,
your efficiency when
and
dealing with
so
any
you'll
kind
see
of
in a second.
text.
So I can run this
Frankly,
video. It
this tool looks
explains what
magical the first time you'll see
Text
it in
Expander is
action.
all about, and then
Okay,
so
so
here's
the
me giving
way
a
Text
demo,
Expander
and then
works
I
is there is a
narrate
small snippet
over
of
this
text that you
demo
type.
while it's happening and
You can
show like now if
determine
I
what the
type
snippet is going to be.
AES,
And then when you type
so
that and
show
hit
what
the
it is
trigger key,
first.
it will
That's the
expand.
trigger
So,
element,
for
and then
example,
this
here,
tool
if I
lets you
type
type at ES, and
at
just a little
ES,
space
it'll
bar, boom,
expand out
it
to my
expands.
email
So I
address.
just gonna go through with them all of that stuff in the movie. If I need to do it by narrating it without sound, that's great. I can do it. It's short, but this is all set up, right? Because if I had to do this demo live, I'd have to figure out how to set this up and show it. But I've created a little demo movie. I can run it. That'll be super useful and super powerful. Then I can talk about how you do automation by using dictation, Dragon dictation, Siri, whatever. That's all automation because it's really important for lawyers to automate how they create text. So that's basically, and I'm not saying that's everything in automation. I'm just touching on a couple of things that are super important. I might add one other thing. We'll see, but I'm seeing I have a lot of slides. So then with mobility, that's about being able to work from anywhere. And it's also about using outsourcing. I'm going to add some other slides to talk about some basic outsourcing tools that are out there, like Fancy Hands and Upwork and Fiverr, some common ones that aren't legal specific. But I know lawyers are going to want to know about outsourcing legal work, so I'll talk about law clerk legal is the last thing because you can hire lawyers to work for you on a part-time basis, and that's super cool. So then that's all about that. I didn't mention I was going to talk about marketing, but I am going to get into marketing if I have time and I get into all that. And then after I've talked about marketing and how to do it effectively and automate it and so forth, then I'll come back and I'll say, okay, so those are the three keys to working smarter: simplicity, automation, mobility. I will have talked about how the marketing piece fits under automation. And then I'll say, you have two options at this point. Either you can, continue on with complexity, frustration, and overwhelm, or you can pick option number two and try to create simplicity by using automation in a strategic way and also enabling mobility. And then I'll say, if you want my help, I look forward to helping you. What about the slides and so forth? So that's thinking this through. Now, I didn't show you this part, but in the beginning, when you introduce yourself, what a lot of people do, and I used to do before I learned, from other people who do this well, that you need to help the audience understand not just that you have a bunch of credentials, but that you, in fact, are someone worth listening to on this topic that they're going to hear you talk about. So I used to think, well, I don't want to do that. Like, it seems kind of stupid. The person's just introduced me. This is the whole thing. Shouldn't I just dive right into the talk? And the answer is not really. I mean, you can if they know you. Like, if an audience knows you really well, then you don't need to. But if they don't, and this audience won't, then I need to explain to them my journey, which was I was in a big law firm. I learned a lot of stuff there. They had great resources. I loved it for a while. Then I started to hate it. I was burning out because everything was taking longer. I was playing with computers and figuring out that computers could help me do things more efficiently, but none of my colleagues, or very few of my colleagues, embraced that notion. And it was just frustrating for me. So I decided to leave and go out on my own and just see if I could make this technology stuff work for me as a solo without having to go to committee meetings and meet, stupid billable hour quotients, and, to try to meet a high overhead. Said I was going to have simple overhead, low overhead, work with clients I liked, use technology to automate as much as possible, outsource where possible. And it was blissful. And that was all because of technology. So when I tell that story, then I can start talking about how somebody else can create a better practice because I can also weave into the story the truth, which was that after I learned how to do this, lawyer friends of mine said, "Hey, can you show me how to do that?" And so I started showing a few people, then more, and then more and more, and then lots of people. So that's my journey, and I put that all in. So that's how I create the slides. I don't dive into the slides. I work out this part first. Like, what are the big three key elements? And then, in my case, I know I'm driving them. They're going to want my slides. So, at the end, I'm going to give them my slides. So I'm always thinking as well, like to make sure that the slides speak for themselves or help them remember the key parts of the talk. So, that when they look at the slides, they're not just looking at stuff that doesn't make sense. So I think about it from what are the big three elements? And you want to have three. Marketing was a fourth.
And the reality is, marketing I put under automation, but I don't know how much time I'm going to have. And so having marketing as slide 48 means that I can punch in number 48 and jump to it. Well, I mean, I'll wind up at it. And if I don't have time, because this, and I'll know how long this part takes, I can just type in number 60 and jump to the end, and they won't even know that there was going to be a discussion about marketing. So those are just kind of some of the cool things that you can do with PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever you use. I don't know if you know this trick, but if you're in the slide and you know what the number you want to jump to is, if you just type in the number and hit enter, it'll jump to that slide. So that is my overview of this, and I'm going to be doing maybe more of these because I think I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to give presentations, and there's a formula to it. And I think I've basically shown you the formula. It's like the setup, who you are, a little bit about you, three key parts, maybe a fourth. You can make that optional. Then wind up by saying, if you don't do the stuff I'm suggesting that you do, then you're going to have a bad result. If you do these things that I suggest you should do, which basically what I'm saying is you should embrace technology. And if you want me to help you continue to figure out how to do this, if you subscribe to my list, you download my stuff, maybe you'll take my course, maybe you'll sign up for some webinars I do, and I can help you remotely in a way that's easy for me and easy for you. And so that's where I'm going with that. If you are giving a talk, you want to, if it's for purposes of getting business, then maybe if you have an email list, and you send people emails monthly to talk about the thing you're an expert in, then what you would do is say, go to my website, sign up here, and you'll be on my list. And now you'll get more information about this every month that will help you stay on track. So, when you're beginning with the end in mind, the end is not just in the slides, the end is out there for after you've given this talk. What do you want people to do? You shouldn't just be giving talks without any strategy in mind. And basically, the only two talks you're ever going to be giving, the two categories are either you're trying to convince people to do something or you're trying to show them how to do something. And in my courses, I have a lot of showing how to do because, that's kind of getting into the intricacies. And that's, that just is something I figured out I need to do in a course because, you get into the weeds quickly when you're showing people how to do things and people want to know different things. So the first step is showing them, that they should use technology and that if they're having trouble using technology, it's probably not their fault. They probably haven't been doing it. Probably haven't been going about it the right way. They haven't been systematic. And the reason why I focus on systems is, first is because that's really the key to everything in your practice, right? If you want to simplify your practice, it's about being systematic. It's about having templates and forms. It's about, finding any shortcut that can streamline your practice. All of that is how you get simplicity. Automation, if you skip over this part, is complicated because technology is inherently complicated. So I've had, I had to think through how do I present this information in a way that allows people to understand why they haven't been getting the results that they expected to get from technology and how they can then begin to get those results. So that's my thought process. I hope that's helpful to you. And I look forward to helping you in the future in any way that I can. I'm doing a small firm boot camp live event in May in New Orleans. And we're going to be talking about all this kind of stuff for 2 days. I'm going to have some great speakers, great sessions. And it's a great way to, spend 2 days completely focused on learning your practice. And one of the presentations actually is going to be about how to create a great presentation. And it's by this fellow named Craig Ball, who I saw at Tech Show give a presentation. He blew me away. This is like, over 10 years ago. And when I saw him, I was like, wow, I didn't know PowerPoint could do that. And he said, oh, it's amazing. And we became friends. And he now he lives in New Orleans now. So I said, Craig, would you want to give your talk about, PowerPoint? And he said, yes, I'd be happy to do it. So he's going to talk about this. And he's the fountainhead of knowledge about all this stuff. So I hope that you can come to boot camp. It's in New Orleans. It's a great town to have fun in. It's in May. It's still a good crawfish season if you're into crawfish, but we have lots of other kinds of seafood if you don't like crawfish. So anyway, that's my presentation about how to create a great presentation. I hope it helped you. If you have any questions, email me at ernie@lawfirmautopilot.com, and I'll be happy to help you move forward and keep figuring this out. All right, take care. Bye.